Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I wanted to film one that might be a touchy subject, but I wanted to kind of put this out there because I get a lot of questions on my channel whether I'm vegan or not, and some of you who follow my main channel may know that I have been vegan in the past. That's not to say that I'm still not vegan, but I really wanted to kind of go into detail about my diet and why I don't like labels for one, and why I just call my diet like a sustainable diet. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in and you want to continue watching, I would just urge you to be mindful of the comments you're going to leave. I understand that certain people feel very, very strongly about certain diets, and that is 100% in your right to do so. But I just think it's important to think about your comment before you post it and think, could this be hurtful? Could this be perceived as non-constructive criticism and just being judgmental? So I just want to kind of get that out of the way. But I do encourage you guys to leave your comments because I like having open discussions about stuff like this. So without further ado, let's just hop into the video, and I'm going to tell you all about my diet, what it is, and all of that jazz, because you guys seem to be really interested in it. For me personally, I really don't like to label my diet because as soon as you throw a label on it, I think it just invites judgment and other people to kind of put you under a microscope and say, you are this or you aren't this, or you're doing this wrong so you are not this, or you did this one little thing so therefore you are not this. And I really just don't enjoy the judgment that comes with adopting a label on yourself. So for me, I like to say that I eat a sustainable diet. I try to eat as healthy as possible for me and as healthy as possible for the environment. But at the same time, I'm not perfect, and I have had past experience being 100% vegan, and I found that just being strictly 100% vegan was so much work. It was taking up so much of my thought process to make sure that every single thing I ate was 100% vegan, and to read every single back of the label and things like that, and like when I go to a restaurant to think about every single thing that I ordered. It just was becoming a bit overwhelming for me. I knew I still wanted to pursue a vegan diet or a mostly vegan diet, but I just needed to find something that worked for me. I think a vegan diet is 100% the most sustainable diet that you can eat. I think any amount of reducing your consumption of animal products and byproducts is helpful, and I really think if you're making steps in that direction, that's the best thing you can do. It has a very huge impact, and it's something that a lot of us can do. So I'm just going to break down my diet into kind of the guidelines or the boundaries or whatever I use to eat the way I do. So I don't eat any meat. I haven't eaten meat in 6 years, and that also includes fish and chicken, because for some reason people don't think fish and chicken are meats, but they are. I don't eat any meat. I haven't for a very long time, and I don't plan on ever returning to eating meat. I just don't feel the need for it. I feel perfectly healthy and fine without the addition of meat. And honestly, when I was eating meat, I had a lot of really bad digestive issues, and my skin was really, really bad, and my periods were awful, very painful. So I don't really see any reason for myself personally to go back to eating meat. It's just not something I felt good doing, and it's also not sustainable at all. The farming practices that we do, unless you are a personal farm and you're raising your own meat and slaughtering your own meat to then eat, it's really not sustainable. I also don't consume cow's milk or cheese. Now, personally, this is why I kind of fall into a gray area where I don't label myself as a vegetarian, because vegetarians do consume cow's milk and cheese and things of that nature. I don't consume actually any mammal milk. I only drink like almond, soy, oat, and coconut milk. Those are kind of my 4 favorites. For me, lactose just doesn't do well in my system. I really don't digest it well. Again, I used to have really awful digestive issues, and since cutting those things out of my diet, my digestion has improved. It isn't 100% healed, but it's definitely improved. So basically, when I'm at home, when I am in control of buying and cooking all of my own meals, I would say I eat probably 98% vegan at home. I do include a couple of things which I'm going to get into that aren't going to be considered vegan, and that is why if you wanted to put a label on my diet, I would probably consider myself plant-based, but even then, plant-based is such a weird term. I feel like it's been misconstrued, so I don't really know what plant-based, the definition of that is. So the things that I do include are really personal to me, my lifestyle, my personal choices, and this is the diet that I've designed for myself personally. I'm not telling anyone else to do this. You really have to test things out and find what works for you. So these are the couple of things that I do that aren't vegan or whatever you want to call it. I do allow myself to eat vegetarian when I go out to restaurants or if I'm in a social setting where I am not in control of the food being made or purchased. So, for example, I live in an area where vegan alternatives are becoming more popular, but they really aren't mainstream yet. So some restaurants I go to, literally the only option that is vegan is sometimes French fries or like lettuce with no dressing. So in those instances, when those are the only options, I do allow myself to eat vegetarian because I found that when I was forcing myself to be 100% strict vegan, I had to say no to a lot of social things. I will say that most of the time I am able to find a vegan option, but on the rare occasions that I'm not, I will allow myself to eat vegetarian, and I have been much happier with this decision, and it really only accounts for maybe 5% of my overall diet. I don't eat out that much, and just for economical reasons, but when I do, it's nice to not feel so restricted. I also include local harvested honey in my diet. I personally find a lot of benefits from including local honey and local bee pollen because I suffer from really bad seasonal allergies, and there have been study and research into consuming locally grown honey and locally made bee pollen to your area that helps with allergies, and I have found a benefit in doing so. So that is one of the reasons I like to include honey, and I enjoy having a little bit of honey here and there in my tea every now and then. I find that it's a sweetener that I can enjoy without feeling negative effects. I'm very sensitive to sweeteners, so honey is one that doesn't really bother me. There are some places that have less desirable farming practices for honey. So that's something you have to take into consideration is if you're going to be including these things into your diet and you want to do it sustainably, make sure they aren't killing the bees because there are kind of 2 different ways you can farm honey. One is kind of detrimental to the bees. One is a way to work with the bees and have them in a safe environment so that they can thrive and so that you do support the honeybee population. It's something to consider if you are wanting to include honey, is you should really know where it's coming from and how it's being made. The other thing that I will occasionally include in my diet is eggs, and these also come from a local source that I know. It's actually a close family friend of ours. He adopts chickens. A lot of his chickens are rescues and just like he just takes them in because he has the space for them, and a lot of them are just egg laying chickens that people have purchased. So he has a lot of them. he doesn't eat all of the eggs that they produce, so whenever he has excess, he brings them over to us and we enjoy them. So again, I'm not going out to the grocery store, I'm not going out of my way to buy eggs that are coming from factory farms. I don't believe in those farming practices. So as you can see, my diet is very specific to me. It's very specific to my circumstances and my personal choices. I don't like putting a label on my diet. I just like to tell people I eat plant-based, or I eat a sustainable diet, or I try to do my best. These are all answers that I have given in the past. Ultimately, kind of my end goal diet is to grow everything myself. Eventually, I would really love to have like a nice plot of land and be able to have my own bees and my own chickens and my own produce. I will never raise my own meat. It's just not something I'm interested in doing. I don't really see the health benefits in consuming meat products, and I could personally never slaughter animals that I raised and then eat them. But for now, this is what I'm doing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it answers some of your questions. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on your post notifications. And with that, I will see you guys in my next video.